Hello and welcome back to the channel for another video. As this is a longer form video, I've actually gone to a different camera and I'm going to be reading from my computer. So essentially the news is that Titanic Sinclair'S brother, Alex, has made a statement. So I just thought I'd read it out for you. This was sent to me on Twitter by @LoyalLaney. Link will be in the description, and also this comes from Reddit, and so the link to the actual original post will also be in the description. So it started when he posted an AMA on the r/that_Poppy subreddit. The post reads, "Hi everybody, I am Alex. My brother is Titanic Sinclair. I played lead guitar and bass for Mars Argo from 2011 to 2012, which if you didn't know is true. He's in the Lincoln Hall video actually, and it can be seen in like the Love and Black and White music video, I think, and some other stuff as well. Poppy has been coming to my family Christmas for the last few years. Everyone seems to have a lot of unanswered questions, so ask me anything." So someone posted in r/popheads and Alex decided to respond. This isn't to do with the AMA, but it says a lot. So just for a heads up, I haven't read this before, so you're learning as I am. He says, "I'm not going to use stage names except Poppy because she insisted to be referred to as Poppy by everyone, my parents included, and it just kind of gets ingrained. So here we go. I've always thought the entire project was silly. I've been watching Corey cultivate this idea since 2008. At first they started making artsy videos in their apartment, and they both liked making music. So at first Corey was sending me these really beautifully shot videos of them in Chicago on top of a score they wrote together. Brittany is a talented pianist and they worked very well together. Eventually they moved back to Michigan, and this was around the time I graduated high school. But Corey moved back in with the family after some kind of conflict where they were on the rocks. Corey really reanalyzed the entire thing and it started going from GroceryBag.tv content to Mars Argo content, driving her as a star. Brittany introduced him to weed and alcohol. He was a straight-edge hardcore kid playing in metal bands before he met her. So they started getting super baked and making these ridiculous videos, where the whole point was to get people to hate them. Corey used to submit these videos of them being cliche hipsters, getting wine drunk, smoking weed, saying dumb, rambling, pretentious shit on camera, editing it, and then submitting it to lookatThisFuckingHipster.com to get views. And it worked. They got 100,000 views and then boom, they released a video where Brittany played a song on an acoustic guitar. From the very beginning, this has been Corey's goal. It's extremely simple. Create a weird/confusing/dumb spectacle, release a music video, and then hey, this is kinda good. Here's our album. By the way, we're on tour. Spoiler, this was the same strategy for Poppy. This is why people know so many similarities, because it is an identical model that he knew would work. And it did, but it didn't work with Brittany because of Brittany. Going back to the early 2010s, I joined the band. My buddy that I was jamming with at the time joined too. We started practicing pretty regularly in Michigan. A few months later they moved to Chicago again, and they were working with a really great producer in this insane studio, while I was really feeling ready to get out of my hometown. Me and my buddy decided to move down and join the band. 5 months in, we moved in with Corey and Brittany, since the studio was like a block from their apartment, and I regarded these as some of the worst months of my life. They just fucking hated each other. I don't know how else to put it. They would be like Love in Black and White days. The shoot for that music video was miserable. I'm in that one on bass. She got absolutely hammered on tequila for the shoot and we had to keep telling her she was a good singer. She was always incredibly insecure and never really knew what was going on while Corey was always guiding her. She was pretty prone to getting blackout drunk and making some kind of scene, including taking her clothes off and needing to be carried out of the room. I have been in far too many screaming matches with Brittany, always over the pettiest shit. The two of them fought all the time, and band practice was never fun, and it all fell apart really fast, as you can imagine. Then we got fired. Then eventually they rebuilt the band, and I ended up back in the band on lead guitar. I played a few shows with them in the new lineup, but it was still always tense, and sometimes Brittany wouldn't show up to band practice when our bassist was driving 300 miles to be there. We played Summerfest with them, and it was such a bad experience that we were finally fed up and the whole band quit. Corey and Brittany went back to Chicago, and me and the rest of the band went and watched ZZ Top and Scorpions. Then we all got fired? I never understood that part. Anyways, when they moved back to LA, they got a new band again and we didn't hear much. They kind of vanished with the exception of a video going on YouTube here and there. When Corey and Brittany finally split, they were carrying momentum as they released their highest budget music video to date, and suddenly, the whole Mars Argo thing was over. The end of the relationship was the end of the project, and that fucking crushed Corey. He invested like 6 or so years into trying to make Brittany into a star, and it fell apart, but the entire relationship was hinged on that. The lyrics to Using You are pretty goddamn obvious. The same concept popped back up with Poppy, and I noticed what Corey was doing. They cleaned Poppy's history and started everything back up, making weird videos that eventually link you to a song. Pop already had a record deal, so that was a plus. But my brother created every element of the entire experiment that drove Poppy's success. The techniques he uses to make it feel as if it's creepy or off, as it does, are the result of what he's been honing in on for years. He got really good at it. And it blew up, which is what he had been chasing for about a decade. They flew me out to LA to shoot behind the scenes footage of the Low Life music video, and it was amazing to see Corey go from shooting computer shows on a DSLR in our parents' basement to directing a large crew on a soundstage in LA. But I never liked Poppy from the start. Flying in for that video shoot was the first time I met her. When I got picked up from the airport, it felt less like my brother picking me up and more like a client. I immediately learned that everything revolves around Poppy. If you're not talking about her, she isn't interested. She came to Christmas and went on family trips with us. She never really had anything positive to say. It was always negative. Quite often she was talking shit about somebody. I found out that she was even more insecure than Brittany. Because they took the strategy of making weird, mysterious shit, they attracted obsessive people who were chasing conspiracy theories, and we only ever heard resentment towards fans when they come back from tour. Once it really picked up steam and they began touring the world, I don't think anyone really enjoyed it. How was France? The flight was fucking miserable. Their team was going through constant changeover. Every time I talked with them, they had a new manager. So here's why I'm telling you all of this. Poppy wants to be a pop star, and I wish her the best. But dragging my brother after cheating on him, airing out the fact that he attempted suicide, and then discrediting everything he's created, that's the type of person who would use her own trauma to invalidate an allegation. That's the part you got right. She also said that Brittany was using the lawsuit for attention, and Brittany actually was hinting at a new album release. She was raised to marry a rich man for his money. She literally wrote that in her lyrics. She hasn't done anything since Mars Argo went away. She's never had a job. She was banking on being a famous singer. And suddenly Corey was successful doing this thing, and she put together a lawsuit that didn't make it to court, but it sure made it to TMZ. Poppy saw how people reacted towards Corey during that, and is now pretending to be another victim, and ride the cancel culture wave. Oh, by the way, there's a new album January 10th. We should really support her. I think she should be ashamed of herself. This only comes down to album sales for her. I think her new relationship was another career move as well, but processing your brother's suicide attempt is a pretty fucking heavy thing, and this crossed a line that I couldn't even imagine someone thinking about before today. She got popular eating cotton candy and confusing people. Now that she's reached a certain level of success, she thinks she could go solo. The problem is, just like last time, the project is intertwined with the relationship, and I find it odd that Poppy stood by Corey during the lawsuit but is now using that against him, because Poppy obviously lived in Britney's shadow, and at any point she could have been different. But she just became Britney and picked up where Mars Argo left off. I always found it weird, but anything for $1 with these people, and honestly, a huge part of the mystery around Poppy that gained so much attention was the drama around Mars Argo. I always thought that they were playing that up to get people talking. They think everyone is stupid for watching their videos. They refer to their fans as fucking idiots. And this is such a 180 flip for Poppy. From the hyper-conservative cynic that I had to spend Christmas with, that I can't help but feel certain that she's doing this as a marketing tactic. Nobody is justified in any of this. There are toxic people, all of them, and they are all clamouring for fame. Their breakup has been private. People have just been speculating about her and her new boyfriend. And this entire situation is just a fucked up move on her part. She was kicking him out of what he built for a second time. He was suicidal and then he attempted it. Thanks for letting everyone know. We can't wait for the new record. So that was essentially the first comment. The next comment is in response to a comment that says, "So you're Titanic Sinclair'S brother and you're here to defend him. Explain Mars's photo of him breaking into their apartment and smashing her wine glass." To which he says, "Sure, they bought a gun because someone broke into their apartment once. Brittany always complained about Mexicans in her neighborhood, and this was a thing in Chicago too. She particularly hated Mexicans, but they armed themselves after an incident. In the lawsuit, it claimed he broke into her apartment when it could have just been a photo from that incident. There's no other evidence that anything happened, just a photo of a window, and that's odd to me. Remembering the breaking and entering incident that caused them to go buy a gun. The wine glass thing always rubbed me the wrong way because Corey was obviously drunk, but this is the type of shit they did when they fought. Brittany would throw shit at him and scream at everybody. The wine glass picture gave me bad memories of those days when I lived with them. But then that video came out and 3 seconds later he was drunkenly cleaning it up and mumbling to himself. It was embarrassing, but I never saw it as a Corey thing. It was how the two of them fought. It was fucked up, but my first thought when I read the lawsuit was how fucking brazen Brittany was being in claiming to be this poor little old me. Nobody in my life has had more of a negative impact on my mental health, my brother, or my family in general than Brittany Sheets. I celebrated the day they broke up. Now, we're going to move on to the AMA. These aren't going to be in order. They're going to be in order of what's on Reddit, so I think that, the top one may be the most upvoted one. Yeah. But hopefully it explains some stuff. He also states at the end of one of his other responses that both Mars Argo and Poppy have a lot to hide. The first response is mostly the same as one of the previous responses. The only thing that's really different is it goes into about Borns. Someone said, "After this post exposing the singers, what will happen? I know you're trying to defend Corey, but 2 statements of abuse really overcome an AMA." I said, "Sorry if it's really personal, I'm trying to keep a clear mind with no bias." Alexander says, "I appreciate that, actually, and I totally understand where you're coming from. I'm really doing the AMA for me. This has been such a fucked up thing to witness and have hit so close to home. And I don't really know what else to do but try to help people understand the full picture. I don't feel like I'm exposing them, but just telling a different side. Corey's cancelled, there's nothing to do about that. Poppy knew exactly what she was doing here, and I'm pretty blown away by it. I think she's just gonna calm down from here. It's finally done, and Corey needs to do different shit, and I think it'll be really fucking good for him to be done with this project. He's been obsessive his entire life about doing something big, and he did, but at what cost? This has been my question this entire time. It's why I quit in 2012. Like, what the fuck is all this for? Poppy is simply a meme. This is all spectacle. This is three people trying to be famous, and this is how they did it. I find that to be sad, and I don't think anybody would have paid attention to Poppy if she didn't have this shtick to go with it. So I'm quite curious to see what she does next. The only reason she's famous is because of the mysterious present and absurd videos. A singer is a dime a dozen these days, and Corey realised that, and that's why he focused so heavily on doing abstract YouTube content. It's hard to get attention these days, and Corey understood the internet very well in that context, and that is something that neither Britney nor Poppy could have done alone. It's an interesting comment. Someone asked, what do you think of Poppy and Mars Argo's stories? To which he said, I think it all makes sense when you look at it through the lens of three people who are desperate to be famous. Controversy sells. If you ever read the book Trust Me, I'm Lying, basically the guy who did marketing for American Apparel used to do photo shoots that were super risque, use those photos on billboards, and then he'd take a picture of the billboard and say, I can't believe they're doing this, and post it to feminist blogs. Next thing you know, the cynical hate on the internet becomes free advertising. Everyone picks up the scoop. But it's worth it to have bad press for the free marketing. Look how Trump won the presidency, saying fucked up things, getting a bunch of attention and continually succeeding. All three of them operate in the same way. Corey loves being the most hated man on the internet. That's why he made shirts that said Titanic Sinclair was mean to me on Twitter. It was all a joke and a false personality. That being said, I think this has gone way too far and they've all gotten way too invested in it and they all turned into monsters along the way. I think Britney's story is a one-sided display of the massive blowout fights they would have on the regular, going back to 2009. She used that to tear him down and hinted at a comeback album, but the case flopped and nothing happened. Poppy is doing the same shit because she saw how effective it was. In fact, Britney laid the groundwork, but nobody is a hero here. The whole thing is just miserable and depressing, and I wish it would end. Someone asked him what his favourite album from Poppy and or Mars Argo was, and asked him if he was collaborating with Titanic's future partner. To which he said, I loved their early stuff, it was super organic and fun. Towards the end they were trying too hard to write a pop song and it just got stale. But they did some beautiful stuff. I always thought Machine was brilliant. Corey's most technical song and a beautiful and haunting duet. They were most in love during that period too, so that reflected a lot in their videos and music. So I guess technology is a dead bird. But I was also a big fan of the version of Everything Turns to Gold we used to jam. They dumbed it down a lot in the recordings they released, but that song was a lot of fun to play. I never liked Poppy's music, to be honest. The staleness never went away. I did get a kick out of seeing all of Corey's musical influences come out in X. It was like a melody of what he grew up listening to, made from metal to Beach Boys. I don't know what Corey is currently up to for his next project, but I won't be involved as I wasn't with Poppy. Someone asked about Corey's mental state, to which Alex said, to me it feels like an experiment gone wrong and I hope Corey does something else. This project consumes so much of him and they've been dedicated to these characters for so long that it's just made everything into one giant mess that needed to end. The changes in the last few months alone has been remarkable and I'm proud of the guy. People on this site are extremely invested in Poppy as a character, but none of this is real. Nobody has any idea what is actually going on except the people who are dealing with it directly. I've watched way too many videos that people make trying to connect the dots, and it's hilarious how wrong they get so many things. It's just tea to everyone else. The AMA is currently going on as we speak, or as I'm making this. Also, it's like 100 American degrees here today, so it's really hot, so sorry if I don't look the best. Someone said Corey was DMing fans airing the fact that he was going to kill himself before Poppy said it though. Also, Corey spent years messaging fans and airing out all of his personal baggage against Britney and literally got Tony to call her out for being a drug addict who was apparently doing hard drugs, which in my opinion is just as bad of a thing to accuse someone of. Besides the fact that he's your brother, why are you defending him? Do you think he's justified in any of this? Poppy's statement aside, how do you explain the video of him smashing Britney's wine glasses, then shit-talking Bournes? To which he responded and said, to be honest, it's just insane to watch this play out over 10 years. Like, when this started, I was in high school. I'm defending him because there's a lot of context here that's never been shared because the other half of the story is staying the fuck out of it. I think there's a lot of unaddressed trauma and I disagree with anyone airing any of this stuff out. It's so personal and fucked up. The wine glass thing is so frustrating because it's fucking wine glass. And then he cleaned it up. She used to have hysterical meltdowns when she was drunk, and this time Corey was drunk and she wasn't. So she had the presence of mind to record it and use it against him. Nobody was recording her, and that's why I find the whole thing frustrating. There's a reason they worked so well together. She wasn't held captive. They were equals in the ring when it came to fighting, and they hated each other, but knew this project had something. And look where the fully realised version of it is now. He shit-talked Bournes because Bournes made it and then ghosted everyone. Notice that in that video he talks about how Bournes is hanging out with new people who control him and tell him what to do and say. Shit fell apart in so many ways, very publicly, because everyone wants to be famous. That same person responded and said, does Corey know you're doing this? Also, something you said earlier confused me. Does your family still talk to / associate with Britney's family? To which he said, no, this is something I decided to do myself. I'm tired of the narrative being made by other people and all Corey and Poppy and Mars have to do is stir up the juicy details to try to bring each other down. Everyone has mostly stayed in character. Like someone told me earlier, just shut up, clown, no one cares. But this whole thing affects real people now, and I'm one of them, and I'm sick of this hanging around. I wouldn't say we talk or anything, but things are definitely cordial. Like I said, we're able to separate the chaos from the families. I went to high school with Brittany's sister and she was one of my favourite classmates. Great people, awful situation. Someone asked if Titanic actually cheated on Mars and Alex responded and said, unfortunately, I have no idea what happened with the whole cheating scandal. They definitely read weird, but I don't know what to make of it. They were definitely always up and down. It was like every few months they'd be going through some kind of shit and it got old when you were in the band. We'd be waiting for her to show up to band practice and we'd find out, oh, she went to Michigan. They both randomly vanished sometimes. I think the problem was that they tried to commodify their relationship. But I think A-OK was Britney's most honest song and I invite people to take it seriously. In my opinion, they definitely had love for one another, but I think this whole project smothered it. I think they both genuinely wanted to be together, but Mars Argo as a project turned into a toxic codependency. She was the star, he was the producer. Same thing is happening now with Poppy, only this time it's way more elevated. He's still responding to stuff in the AMA. As I said, it's still going on, but they're the main points that I wanted to raise in this video. I'm sure that you have your own thoughts in the comment section below, and I'm sure you'll let me know, and we'll have a discussion about it in the comments. But yeah, thanks for watching. If you are new here, don't forget to subscribe. If you did enjoy the video, leave a like, and I'll see you soon for more content. Peace.